Hooray, we're going to try this again. I'm so glad that we are here together, whether you're live or on the replay. This is Julie Jordan Scott. I'm here. My channel's Aging Joyfully, and you have arrived. I am thrilled that we are starting our journaling sessions. We just had a very short live stream, perhaps. I don't even know if it went live. I froze almost immediately. So we're going to get started now on day one, which is about your believing mirror and how you see yourself as you are about to begin this next chapter, your new chapter. And that could be anything. It could be from starting a new season of your life. It could be doing something new or differently. It could be getting a new job, retiring, could be having an empty nest. It could be starting a new relationship. There's all different times and spaces. It could be that your children are grown up and still at home. There are so many different ways that we experience new beginnings. So today, what I would like to do is focus on how we change the way we see ourselves and how to see ourselves in the most constructive or positive light as we start our next chapter. So I'm going to offer a prompt for you to start thinking about. And as I mentioned, Julia Cameron has this thing called a believing mirror. And so I would like for us to think about what we see when we look into the mirror. So your prompt to begin with, just put it in the back of your mind. You don't need to write yet, unless you'd like to jot a note or two. And it is, when I look in the mirror, I see ... When I look in the mirror, I see. Now just let that kind of percolate. So I'm glad to see that someone is here. After the last attempt went awry, it made me feel anxious. So I'm excited to see when you are here. If you can, please comment and tell me that you're here. That would be great. I had all these things prepared, and then there we go. And then, of course, they just went out the window. When technical things happen, that tends to happen as well for me. So I'm curious of a couple things. What is your next chapter? What's going on in your life? I would love for you to mention that in the comments. And also, if you're brave to answer that first prompt, when I look in the mirror, I see. That would also be fabulous, wonderful, and brave of you to do that. So hi, Vicki. Hi, Chris. Good to see you both. So also, I wanted to talk about journaling in general and how I use journaling and how I will suggest that we use journaling during this process. So I use something called stream of consciousness writing. And what that means is that you write without forethought. You write without correcting. You write without worry of what you are saying or how you are saying it. You are simply moving along, writing stuff down as it pops into your head. I oftentimes call it following the end of my pencil. And I will say, go wherever your pencil leads, go where your pen leads, go, just take your fingers and move them on the keyboard and trust whatever pops up to be exactly, precisely the right thing. So that's the kind of journaling I really suggest people do. You're not trying to write a college essay. You're not trying to write a novel. You are simply dropping the thoughts onto the page or dropping the insights. And what usually comes is a lot of things that you never knew, a lot of things that you weren't expecting. And that's part of the magic of journaling. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, so we're going to use stream of consciousness writing, not pre-planned writing. And the other thing that I want to let you all know is that I have my Grace, Grit, and Grow journal is available for download. It's a free download. It's a mini journal that you can print. And one of the reasons that I wanted to offer this right now is because sometimes people have a difficult time starting journaling. You don't know where to begin. So I will be giving you prompts this week. But in addition to that, as you're getting to know yourself better, as you're starting this new chapter, this next chapter, using the using the method of Grace, Grit, and Grow may help you because it is really pretty straightforward. You look at the grace that you've been receiving in any given day, or any given week. You can use it to measure your any period of time. This is actually something that was done in spiritual circles starting hundreds of years ago. And when people would go and chat with their spiritual advisors, the priests usually back then, they would talk about what was wonderful, what they were on point with. And then they would talk about what wasn't so great. And then they would talk together about what might make that day or that experience better. And so that's why I love this method, this format of Grace, Grit, and Grow. Because oftentimes with gratitude journals, we stop short and we don't look at how to grow. We don't look at the things that we might deem not as pleasant. And my philosophy is that when you can name things, then you can work with them. And instead of just being kind of something rumbling underneath your consciousness, they have a place to be seen and a place to be worked with. And as a result, you can grow beyond whatever has been keeping you stuck. So I hope this is making sense. If it is not making sense, if you have questions, please put them in the comments. I would really greatly appreciate it. Okay, so let's go back to, and also if you're here, I'd love to know that you're here, because right now I just see Chris and Vicky, which is fine. I love Chris and Vicky. You guys are great. I'm thrilled that you're here. But if anyone else is here, it would be wonderful to know that too. So going into your next chapter, Vicky, you mentioned your hair. Are you changing your hair? I wasn't quite getting that. My hair today is insane. My hair it's very humid, or it has been very humid here where I am. And so my hair is wild and fluffy and not very pleasant. Hello, it's good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. So I'm going to put out that question and I will show you how I would riff out some of the ways you might riff on when I look in the mirror I see. So when you look in the mirror, you might see a person of a certain age. You might see, oh, very good. I'm glad to hear about your traveling videos. I love traveling too. When I look in the mirror, I see a woman with a new haircut. When I look in the mirror, I see someone who is tired. When I look in the mirror, I see evidence that it's very humid here. When I look in the mirror, I see that I'm not in the normal setting that I'm in. When I look in the mirror, I see that I really could use another nap. When I look in the mirror, I see someone who is doing her best, even with challenges. When I look in the mirror, I see someone who I would like to be friendly with. So it's not just physical stuff. Hi, Jennifer. It's all different ways of seeing yourself. And I purposefully did not go into critiquing myself, but for some of us, we might automatically go into what we perceive as negative. Like I might say, when I look in the mirror, I see someone who really needs to watch her diet better. When I look in the mirror, I see someone who should be wearing mascara. When I look in the mirror, I see someone whose bra strap is showing that is really tacky. Yes, all of that is true also. Not bad. It's true. All of those things are true. And those are kind of the gritty stuff in the Grace, Grit, and Grow cycle. So Vicky says that she's changed her hair. She has a shag haircut as of last week. So Vicky, has that changed how you look at yourself at all? Does that change your identity? I know that when I was 20, I went from having hair like I have now, long and straight hair. I got it cut. And I got it cut and it kind of like a shag, actually, back in 1980, whatever year that was, 1982. And when I got my hair cut, it was layered. And so because I was a beach chick, I know that's shocking. I was a California beach chick back then. When they cut my hair, it went from being blonde-ish to being dark brown. Hi, Miss M. And people said, I really liked how you colored your hair. I'm like, I didn't color my hair. I just got layers taken off. And people literally saw me differently because of my hairstyle. So it can definitely change who you are. I'm glad that you're happy about it. So the prompt that we're working in is, when I look in the mirror, I see. When I look in the mirror, I see. So this is a good place to start, and where I wanted to start with these 5 sessions so that you could begin to identify how you see yourself. Because by the last session, the 5th session, I want you to be able to look at yourself honestly and in a way that you believe in who you are. That's what the believing mirror is about. When we have believing mirrors, these are people who are in your corner. These are people who believe in you. These are people who build you up. And if they give you a critique, or if they give you a suggestion, I'm thinking in the theater world, we get notes. And when we get notes, that means that people will give you suggestions and you're acting. And it's part of the collaboration. They are working to help you get better. And I think sometimes when we feel like we are not as good as we could be, or we are somehow falling short, we see that as meaning we're not good. And that's not what it is at all. A believing mirror is someone who will come alongside you, support you, and lovingly perhaps redirect you. It's okay, Catherine. It's totally okay. I had some difficulties with my technology. It's the theme this week, so you're right on time. So our prompt that we're starting with, and I'll put it here. When I look in the mirror, did you see me say hi, Chris? I did say hi. When I look in the mirror, I see. And in the beginning, I said, for those of you who weren't here in the very beginning, I said, just let that percolate in your brain. I gave some examples of how you might answer. And we're working this week to help you to find a way to look in the mirror and see yourself in a most loving, compassionate, growth-oriented way. Okay. So that's a concept of the believing mirror that we'll be growing into this week. The other thing that I wanted to tell you all is that these sessions are going to, I'm switching it up a little bit just because of my crazy schedule and the fact that I'm house sitting this week. Okay, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. In fact, today we're not going to do much writing at all, Jennifer. So I'm glad you're listening in, because the believing mirror is an important concept, whether you're a journaler or not. I'm also going to talk about Grace, Grit, and Grow a little bit more. We're going to talk about the schedule for this series, and we're going to answer any questions, and we're going to talk about the free download. So that's what we're going to cover tonight. It probably won't be full length. So Grace, if you would like to comment in the comments, this is slightly different from gratitude. It includes gratitude, but it could be, grace from a Christian perspective is considered undue favor. So it's something that is given to you, not because of anything you do, but it is like a gift. And so if you can think of any grace that you had today, anything that you received that was magical or felt magical or spiritual, or it could be something really super simple. So I'll tell you guys something for me that I would put in the grace category. I will say the light reflecting off the creek when I was walking earlier. Okay, so some of you may know I did my first Wonder Walk today. That's something I'm going to be doing Monday through Saturday live. And this is a real risk for me because I'm not used to live streaming while I'm walking. And I'm very self-conscious about walking. And so this was a huge thing for me to do. And so I felt a lot of grace doing it. I also walked nonstop without sitting down for 45 minutes. And that's huge for me. For some of you, that's nothing. For me, that's huge. So that's grace. because literally when I started the camera, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to follow through. And it's grace that I did. Okay, Miss M. Miss M says, when I look in the mirror, I see a person who is struggling, and she is seeing black and gray. A person who's exhausted, a person who's crawling but not giving up. Beautiful. Beautiful. And I would say the person who's exhausted, not giving up, those are all grace. Those all fit really nicely into the grace category. The grit could be struggling, and the grow. This is a really good example. I don't even know if you realize you're doing that, Miss M, but you were definitely fitting into the grace, grit, and grow right there. The fact that you show up, showing up is a huge accomplishment. When we show up to things, when we say we're going to do something and then we do it, is huge. Vicky says when she looks in the mirror, she sees wrinkles and has bought more creams. Yes, I know. Sometimes when I look in the mirror, I see that I need to color my hair. And again, when we look at in the mirror, we can see so much more than those things we critique ourselves for. One of the things that I realize is there are many, I can go months without looking at myself closely in the mirror. And I'm not kidding you. I literally can go for months without looking at a physical mirror. Can you believe that? I think that's kind of sad. But we are conditioned. I was going to say, Catherine has a great video today. It's about yo-yo dieting, but it's really about so much more to me. And I really enjoyed watching her video. So if you follow Catherine, I suggest you watch that video, because even though it isn't directly, like what we're talking about now is not directly about yo-yo dieting, but it is about perceptions. It is about our thoughts and our beliefs and how it interacts with what we're up to in life and what we're doing. So here's the schedule. I have changed the schedule for the series so many times, but we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 7:30. And then we're going to take Thursday and Friday off. And then we're going to come back next week on Monday and Tuesday at 7:30. So I did this for several reasons. One is I am in Amherst, Massachusetts. And I'm not usually here. I'm usually in New Jersey. And on Friday, when I could be here doing journaling, I could also be going and seeing a concert at Emily Dickinson's house. And those of you who know me know how much I love Emily Dickinson. So that's like, for me, a once in a lifetime experience. So I figured we could journal next week, kind of extend it. And even when I've taught classes in the past, what I found is sometimes it's better, instead of going straight through in 1 week, to step back. So we have a chance to kind of let the work we've done previously settle into our bones. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So we talked about the believing mirror. When I look in the mirror, I see. And I really appreciate your responses to that. And we talked about the schedule. We talked about grace, grit, and grow. And I also wanted to share kind of about the whole week. So today we're talking about that whole concept of the believing mirror. So the most important person to be in your corner is who? We're going to talk about that at the very end, but who do you have as believing mirrors? Who are people who are in your corner right now? Do you have any examples of those? If you'd like to say so in the comments, put it in there. If you'd like to jot a note. Hey, Rhonda, how's it going? Have you heard of the concept of believing mirrors, Rhonda? It's a concept from Julia Cameron, and that is where we are starting this week, this series. And our first prompt is, when I look in the mirror, I see. When I look in the mirror, I see. So we've had some interesting things. Oh, you don't know that concept or haven't heard of that. Well, for me, it's really significant because it is about who we have, who reflects back to us their belief in who we are. Oh, yes, we are neighbors tonight, Chris. So who are you truly? And so these are the people who I picture them being in my corner. I picture people who are holding up a mirror to me and saying, look at this beautiful woman. Look at this artist. I think of this with Jennifer, who's introvert in Alaska. Okay, great. Next week you're in Butte, Montana. I love Butte, Montana. But these are the people who see us perhaps in ways that we don't see ourselves. So for me, some of my believing mirrors include people who read my work. People who are, when I publish things, like I'll tell you, there's one story I like to tell about a book signing that I did. This is a great example of a believing mirror. I was doing a book signing, and this person came up to me, and he was so excited. I was in, and I've talked about this before. I had a book, I had a story in Chicken Soup for the Soul of America. And this man came up to me with this book, and he said, I came in and I bought this book yesterday because I thought they would be all sold out because you're having this book signing. And he found my work just really riveting. And I had never had someone who was so taken with my work, and someone who believed in me so much that he literally bought the book early so that he would have a copy for me to sign. And I have held on to that for years because he believed in me. He believes in my work. And so that's a really cool thing. I would say Catherine Fabulous 60, she will say things to me like, you've really helped me. That's a believing mirror right there. Because she might not know that, an hour before she said, you really helped me, I might have been thinking, I don't even know why I do this. Nobody cares. But when I have a believing mirror reflecting back to me, thank you for what you're doing. You might have a coworker who is like that with you, a coworker who sees who you are and what you do. You might have a parent who does that. I try to be that for my children. Okay, so believing mirrors. When all is said and done, when we come back here next Tuesday, I hope that you are your own believing mirror. So when we start with that very simple prompt, when I look in the mirror, I see, and you can come back with love, compassion, true stuff. And that's why the Great Grace, Grit, and Grow journal will help you to see yourself more clearly, especially if you do it over a couple or 3 days or 4 or however, 5, 6, 7 a month. Because as you do that practice, you'll get better and better at recognizing the beauty of who you are, the strength in who you are. You'll have a running record of the goodness, the grace, the tough stuff, and how you have grown through the tough stuff. That is accurate. And that helps you to see yourself as you truly are, not as these stories that we make up in our head. So, yes, I have a collection of poetry, and I have had a lot of poems in collections, compilations. So I also have some poetry on greeting cards. Oh, okay. Yes, Catherine. Catherine, you're saying your husband is I would say, yes, your husband is definitely your believing mirror. Yeah. In that story, Chicken Soup for the Soul of America, they used they used some of the words in that for a Christmas card, which is really kind of strange. People would say to me, oh, I saw your card. Some of the greeting cards in my poetry spin in. They took my material without asking. It was like AI only earlier. They would steal stuff without permission. Anyway, so there you go. So your prompt, remember, and we're going to keep this short today, is when I look in the mirror, I see. I would also love for you to download the journal, Grace, Grit, and Grow journal, and just try experimenting with that today. Tomorrow, we'll start writing with prompts live on the video, live here. I will have the prompts up in slides and stuff. I'll be all official tomorrow. You're thinking awareness of your inner dialogue. Yes. You do talk to yourself while looking at the mirror. That's awesome. I think too of Mel Robbins, who I know Rhonda loves, with her high five in the mirror. That's a fun process to use too. That's kind of a little bit of believing mirror work, a little bit. So I'm glad that you talk to yourself while looking in the mirror. And I think writing it down, again, takes it one level deeper. And I'm glad that you brought up speaking, because I wanted to say that one thing I haven't talked much about yet, it's on my list, is how I have looked at journaling in a whole different way since I had my surgery. And I'll share that with y'all here first. And that is that I did, and still do now, a lot of dictation. And so my journaling and my writing, working on my tree hug book that I'm working on right now, is I've done it using dictation. And so what I do is I stream of conscious, I put my thoughts, we use this in coaching sometimes, and I will say, put your thoughts on audio. In other words, don't edit, don't think, just let it come out. And so by dictation, it's very much like journaling with a pencil or pen, except you're doing it with your voice. And then what happens is you speak, and you can speak for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long that you want to. And then you'll have it there clearly in front of you in writing. And this is one of those things with journaling that's so significant, is you can see it, you can read it, you can work with it. And that's why it's great to talk to yourself in the mirror and affirm yourself in the mirror, but to have it in writing on a piece of paper or even on a screen is significantly different. The other thing is you can read it back to yourself, and then you can hear it. You can feel yourself speaking it again. So the trick that I use is that when I do my journaling by dictation, is I copy and paste it into an AI, a generative AI, like I use ChatGPT. And I say, please put this into paragraph form for me. Don't change the language, keep my voice, don't correct grammar. But if you recognize that some words were not dictated correctly, please fix that. And I'll put it into ChatGPT. And it has been really, really, really helpful for me. And this may be really, really helpful for you as well. Chris, you know what? The greeting cards that I've had published are not my own. They're like American greetings, but I can look online for you. And the poetry my book of poetry, it's haiku poetry that will be coming out in October. So I might still have some cards available. There was a poetry website that I had cards published on, but I can't remember it. Hi, Emerald. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking. So if you say, and I know there's some people in this room who will say, I'm not a writer, I can't write. And I, of course, tell people, if you can speak, you can write. I believe that for a long time. I will hold on to that forever. I will not let that go. And from my hand surgery, I can say that, yes, indeed, I can write through speaking. And I use that a lot when I worked in education, and I worked with students who were who had challenges with writing. And through speaking, using speaking and writing together, these students were able to graduate. So it's a technique that I've used in education, and now it's a technique that I'm using with myself. Are you practicing your heart instead of your face? What would you see, Vicki? That's a great question. So Vicki is responding to our prompt. When I look in the mirror, I see ... So, and that's the whole thing. When you see your heart instead of your face, or like for this practice, we're talking about, or for this session, these workshops, we're looking at our next chapter. So starting our next chapter, I'm so glad, Jennifer. Do you know I was talking to you? Oh, no, I wasn't just specifically only talking to Jennifer, but it really works. And Jennifer, yeah, I think you'll be amazed. I think you'll be amazed at what you see. I think you'll be amazed at what you read, that you have said, that you will write. So I'm really excited to hear how that goes. But when we look in the mirror and we see our face, besides when we're saying, oh, I'm looking at my puffy face, I'm looking at my wrinkles, I'm looking at my hair is all weird from the humidity or the gray or whatever. if we look at ourselves as I'm a woman in process, when I look in the mirror, I see a woman in process. When I look in a mirror, I see a little girl who had her feelings hurt when her brothers were taunting her. When I look in the mirror, I see a woman who is ready to do great things. Thank you, CL. Thank you, Rhonda. If you would like this, that would make me very happy. It's funny because I'm on StreamYard, I cannot see things like I see when I am on, I'm sure there's a way. I can't see the same way I can see when I'm on my phone. So, all right. So today is just a basic introduction. I wanted to kind of help people who are here live or on the replay kind of get comfortable with the material, because it really is transformative. And the last time that we came in here, I feel like I just came right in and started throwing prompts every which way. And we didn't really have a chance to just sort of go, okay, it's safe here. I'm not going to be forced to do anything embarrassing. I'm not going to be forced to comment if I don't want to. Okay, so look at Jen saying, Jen looks at herself with what needs to be fixed next. Yes, looking at yourself differently. Yes. Okay, thank you, CL. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm using StreamYard specifically so that tomorrow I can have prompts on the screen, so that when we do our timed writing, which will be like 2, 3, 4 minutes or so, it won't be long timed writing. I don't want anyone to get intimidated. And there's no rule about you writing. You can sit there and meditate while we're writing. You can doodle. You can paint. In Julie World, I like to say there's no rules. There's just writing. And writing is RIGHTING. Because in going through the process, we are getting right with ourselves, right with our heart. It's not about fixing. It's not about what's wrong. It's about how fabulous and wonderful that you are. So it will be interesting. I'm looking forward to hear how that works. I appreciate all the weighing in from all of you. Does anyone have any questions before we say so long, farewell for now? So long, farewell for now. We'll be back here tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern time. And then we'll be back here Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern time. And then we'll be back next week on Monday and Tuesday. And we won't be back here on Thursday and Friday because I have a date with Emily Dickinson's place. Yes, we are writing. You got it. There's no wrongs. There's just writing. And I would say that's like one of my people in my world. That's one of my favorite things to say is you can't get it wrong. When I like to cook with people, I don't like to cook so much by myself, but I like to tell people you can't get this wrong. It's like you cannot get being yourself wrong. And that's why as we're starting our next chapter, whether that means it's a new week, so that's our new chapter, you can't get you wrong. You can't. It's absolutely impossible. For those of you who are believers, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Yep, you. And that's something I strongly believe that each of us are, each person on the planet is. So you are welcome, Vicki. I am so glad to be here with each and all of you. Thank you, Miss M. I hope we all have a great evening. And tomorrow when we come back in, I'm hoping that you're ready to, if you don't want to talk about it in the chat, I hope that you might have started looking from a different perspective. When I look in the mirror, I see ... Because no matter what your next chapter is, if you can come from a slightly shifted perspective, it will make it different. You'll see things and experience things differently. So yes. All right. Thank you all so much. In the description, I will put the link to download the journal. If you would like to download that, it's a free download printable thing. And I'm thrilled to be able to offer that to you. So thanks so much. And I'm excited about being back here tomorrow. Take good care, everyone. Great evening. Bye.